All right, fair enough.
Only
Welcome
one
in.
dream.
Is it my dream or is it your dream?
It's a collective dream.
The dream.
Yeah, it's the dream that was Rome.
Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche pregame show. We got the whole four-person squad coming to you live as the Avs take on the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. Look, two teams in two very different spots to start this season. You have the Avs at an undefeated 6-0, obviously. And then you have Pittsburgh, who has started poorly.
Not great.
You're looking at a head coach who might be a little bit on the hot seat there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's going to solve their problems.
Well, let me ask you this. Is this who Pittsburgh is, or do you think they're a better team than they've shown at the start of this season, or have they finally reached the cliff of no return as an organization that has been competitive for the last 15 years?
Yeah, for me, I don't think they're very good.
Okay.
Like, on any given night, I think they can really play great hockey because Crosby, Malkin, got some pretty good other guys there, Jake Gensel and Brian Rust, Ricard Raquel. Like, it's not a bad roster. You don't look at it and say these guys are bad, but a team that had a depth problem last year, their solution was to go and get Lars Eller and Matt Nieto off of an Avalanche team that had a depth problem. And guess what? They have a depth problem. Their defense isn't great. Erik Karlsson wasn't really what they needed. And their goaltending's just not very good. It's like okay.
It's a big commitment to Jari for a goalie that hasn't been amazing, for sure.
Yeah.
In Pittsburgh. I don't know. Let me ask you this then. I think there are some obvious advantages to the Avs' depth. You look at the top of these lineups. Today, are you picking Mac and Mikko over Crosby and Malkin, or do you think that's still a fair push either way?
I think because Mikko and Mac are supported by other top talent and having Cale Makar and Devon Toews on the back end, and that's not, a demerit of Karlsson and Letang. It's just, I think Pittsburgh is better than they started out the gate, but the stars at the top haven't carried as strongly as the stars at the top of Colorado has. And I think that's where I think Pittsburgh gets better is their shot volume has been high and they just have had some finishing issues, even though the Malkins and the Crosbys are generating production. The whole of the lineup isn't. So I feel like that improves upon where it was, but even still, Colorado's top stars are producing at a high clip right now that I would take their top end more than Pittsburgh's right now, and it's because of the supporting cast around them. I think allowing them to be themselves a little bit more, whereas Pittsburgh is depending on Crosby and Malkin so much with where they're at and how they are constructed, because that third and fourth line is something of a production black hole at the moment for them.
I agree with Megan and AJ. And I agree with AJ on the goaltending. I'm okay on Jari, and I think they're okay on Jari. There might not have been that many solutions for them.
Being okay about your goalie is not a vote of confidence.
That's what I'm saying. I think they're okay with it, and I think they're like, okay, he's a known commodity for us, and that's so they they signed him, and I don't know if there was any other solutions that was doable for them.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And again, you got Malkin, Letang, Crosby. What is it? They hold the record of having played the longest together, right? Mm-hmm. It's remarkable when you think about it. It's pretty cool. It's and Letang's a freak of nature. For the record, this guy's a freak of nature.
Not a lot of NHL players that have had multiple strokes.
And he is such in great shape, and he still plays at a high caliber level. You're right. Was Erik Karlsson what they needed to go get? Probably not for me. and so far hasn't proven that, and again, it's early, the small sample. We talked about it yesterday, small samples, right? It's 6 games. But, yeah, I do take MacKinnon and I do take Rantanen instead of, and I'm a big Sidney Crosby fan, but I think Nate's overpassed him, right? I mean, that's in my book.
I do think it'll be interesting when everything is said and done. Right now, Nathan MacKinnon still has a lot to do to have a career the level that Sidney Crosby has had to this point. Does he catch him? Does he not?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he could catch him in the cup total. You're right. Individual statistics, I don't think he's catching Crosby.
I agree.
He's a machine. He's been a machine.
So, but maybe MacKinnon plays till he's 40 at this level. Anything's possible. Probably won't happen, but, we can have some fun with it. What we are going to have some fun with now, though, is Big E's 3 keys of the game. I'm sure he talks about Crosby a bit in this, so go ahead and roll it.
All right, keys to the game today against Pittsburgh. Key number 1, tighten up with the details. A little too loose against the Islanders. A couple goals there. Avs lost some battles along the walls. Listen to Coach Bednar this morning, talked about it. You want championship habits now. That's how you win in the playoffs, but it needs to be addressed now, and they got to tighten up a little bit defensively. Other than that, it's been good, but again, a little too loosey-goosey at times. Be aware of your surroundings as well when you're doing all this. So head on a swivel. Always make sure that you got to know what's going on behind and on the side of you. So very important to get a head on the swivel. Number 2, push, push, push. Very important to drive the play. If you look at the first period against the Islanders, they were driving play. They were going. Islanders were overwhelmed. You got to do the same thing tonight against a struggling Pittsburgh team that's lost their last 2. It's going to be a big game. They're on home ice. They know. And again, I talk about it every game. It's a measuring stick for that team. It's an older team. Again, they made some adjustments this summer. Hasn't worked out with them. As 2-4 right now to start their season. They're going to be ready to go against the Avalanche. Number 3, star beware. A little bit like the Avalanche. They have Crosby, Malkin, Letang. They went and got EK65, right? Eric Carlson, 100-point man last year, Norris Trophy winner. So he's going to want to measure himself against Cale Makar. Cale's going to want to do the same thing. Same thing for MacKinnon and Crosby. List goes on. Malkin versus Rantanen. So there's a lot of games within the game. Make sure that the better elite group wins, and hopefully it's on the Avalanche side.
All right. I did want to talk about that first key a little bit. You kind of mentioned it. Last 2 games, 7-4 and 6-4 for Colorado. Do the Avs expect better of themselves when it comes to... Obviously, I'm sure they love the goal scoring, but tightening up that defense a little bit, like you were talking about.
Yeah, I'll go quick on it because I was listening to Bednar the other morning, and he was bang on. He's like, hey, listen, it's not about winning a game against Pittsburgh or winning against the Islanders in October, but it's about getting the habits right now so you are winning in the playoffs. And I agree with him. And he was talking about the game against the Islanders, and he's like, we're in total control, which they were. And then all of a sudden, there's a couple plays where, guy loses his battle on the wall, is too loose. Well, from Val to, not just guys that are new, guys that are, Val's usually a machine about those things, right? And then soft on the wall, next thing you know, puck's in your net. Yeah, you can blame Georgiev, but there's, been a couple lost battles, and they've been a little bit too loose where they feel that they're in control of the game, and then all of a sudden, it's the NHL. Things can change on a dime, and I think we saw that a little bit on the island there. If you take it too easy sometimes, you don't want to play tight, but if you take it too easy, next thing you know, the puck's in your net. It's a tough league. Unforgiven.
Are we at a point where we care how the Avs win? First 5 games of the season, it kind of feels like you're shaking the rust off. You're getting back into things. You'll take wins however you can get them. Obviously, at the end of the season, if you're in a race for a playoff spot or you're in the playoffs, you'll take a win. Doesn't matter how you get it. Are we in that stretch where the Avs want to start winning in a certain ways, start doing certain things correctly?
Always.
Okay. Even from game 1?
Yeah. You always want to be trying to get to where you feel like the game is comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And outside of the Chicago game, I think you can look at the other 5 and say,
there's some work to do.
The San Jose game too is kind of like, you dominate a game that thoroughly,
just finish a little better.
Exactly. It's pretty hard to be upset about most of that game, but the ones against decent teams, good teams, better teams than those really god awful ones, there's a lot in there that you can look at and say, oh, we want to tighten the screws here. We want to get this better. And really, they're still trying to figure out forward combinations that actually work, that they like. They've changed them, 4 games in a row now, either before the game or during the game. There's just been, and we knew that there was going to be a lot of tinkering because there were a lot of new guys, and it's trying to figure out who's going to work with whom and who's playing well, who's not playing well.
Yep.
Ross Colton has 2 empty net points.
Take him where you can get him.
But he's also at 5v5. He's generated the 4th most expected goals amongst Avs players. So it's like,
let's see the results start to come in for that.
Let's see some of that. Jonathan Duran is 6th on that list.
Yep.
Has 1 assist. Happened 10 minutes into the season.
That's hockey, baby.
Yeah, and so you would like to see some of those guys actually have those really good games. You continue to look, and Tomas Tatar hasn't scored a goal yet, although it's not like you're sitting here thinking he's played poorly. So yeah, I do think that you want to get to a place and where you are building those habits, you are playing to your identity, you're playing to your strengths, and you feel like as a team, top to bottom, you're really humming.
82 games, it's a long season, and so the expectation that they control the controllables is, I think, the biggest takeaway, because they don't want to beat themselves. And so cleaning up the mistakes that they're making on their end, whether it is being a little stronger on some of those battles and being a little bit more difficult to play against in their own end, those are things that they can control. And so you might see changes in how they win respective games because there is another team playing opposite of them that they're going to have to anticipate, and that's going to add an element of randomness. All the Avs have to do is focus on themselves, like Eric mentioned, Bednar said, and that's my expectation then for an 82-game season. Is I think we're going to see these wins come about a lot of different ways, especially through this stretch right here, but as long as they are focusing on controlling the parts of the game that they can control, that's where I am happy with the standard that's being set.
So let me ask you this. If you're Jared Bednar, would you rather see the Avs score another touchdown tonight or a 2-1 win?
I mean, if it's a 7-1 win, that's fine with me.
Brazil.
I don't think I see a Brazil tonight, but you never know. Anything is possible. Not much, man.
Hater.
To be honest, not much. I do think it is interesting, though, because you take a look at Pittsburgh's lineup, and on paper, there are dudes that should be producing on that team, right?
Yeah.
You already mentioned Crosby, Malkin. Carlson hasn't gotten off to the fastest start there, but the dude can still play offense. They're not depth, but you look at guys like Gensel, Brian Rust down that lineup, they should be able to produce a little bit. So,
just not tonight.
Well, is the Avs' focus really going to be, hey, let's try and shut them down tonight instead of let's outscore our problems like it has been the last couple games?
Well, I mean, I always go back to the same thing. If I'm the Avalanche, for me, the best team in the league or one of the best teams in the league, have them worry about us. You know what I mean? And that's
stick to yourselves.
It's
on that
about
one,
us, not them. And I remember over the years playing on those Avalanche 1.0 teams, and it was always that. It was always that in the locker room. Let's not worry about what they do. Let's have them worry about us. And I think when you have Rantanen, MacKinnon, Makar, it's a lot to handle. It's a lot to worry about.
Yeah, definitely fair. All right, let's get to my bets here, and then we can start wrapping things up. I'm taking the Avs to cover because it's plus 170. Hopefully they drop a few on Pittsburgh. I took the over. I feel like that one's more copium because I'm just hoping the production keeps up, even though I think a lot of us are expecting a pretty low-scoring game tonight.
Crash is coming, man.
Just feels inevitable. But you know what? I can dream. If they hit the over on the last two, just keep betting it until it breaks. And then, as AJ was talking about, Ross Colton, anytime goal scorer at plus 400. Feel like the dam's got to break eventually for that
I feel
guy.
like that's a good bet tonight. I might actually try and sneak that in there.
There you go.
I like all three. I do.
I'm here. Look, if the Avs want to drop 6 on them, I'm here for it. Take the Avs over 6 by themselves. Forget Pittsburgh. Go hard.
Forget Pittsburgh.
But, I do think this is an interesting conversation, as we are brought to you by Bet365 Never Ordinary. There always seems to be a little something extra for Nathan MacKinnon when he goes up against Sidney Crosby. One, because obviously they're great buddies from the same town, all that, yada, yada, yada. But the best players in the world do seem to bring the best out of Nathan MacKinnon. Is that something that feeds the entire team, or is that just a Nathan MacKinnon as an individual thing?
I think they feed off of Nathan MacKinnon.
Yeah,
so I
exactly.
think a motivated MacKinnon it's one of those things like if you fall below the standard that Nathan MacKinnon is meeting, you're going to hear about it. And so I think that people rise to the occasion alongside MacKinnon when he's especially dialed in because of that. It's just really hard to fall below that because it's a disappointment that's felt when you do. And not that I know. I feel disappointed when the team lets down Nathan MacKinnon. I'm fearful of those post-game interviews. No, I'm kidding. But the other part of this, too, is it has to have a similar and opposite effect on the Penn side of things, especially because they just lost 3 straight. And it does feel like their production is something of a dam waiting to burst. And so I think it's going to be pretty heavy hitters exchanging blows tonight. Like, I don't know if it's going to be high scoring, but I think it's going to be really competitive.
And I go back to measuring sticks. That's what this league's all about, as a team or as individuals. And same for Crosby. Hey, I'm not going to let the younger guy show me. He's been the face of the league. We know that for so many years, and now there's been a little bit of him and Ovechkin passing the torch to McDavid and MacKinnon, and I think it's important to measure yourself against the best as a team and as an individual. So tonight, there's no different. You know what I mean? And even Makar, Erik Karlsson won the Norris last year. It's like, I'm better than you. You know what I mean? I think it's interesting. Well, I think he's better, but, I think it's interesting. There's a lot of games within the games, and, I think it's tonight, it's no different, and there sure is some big hitters,
Let me ask you this. How much does familiarity matter with these teams? Because you look at the Avs lineup, a lot of the new guys they brought in, Ross Colton in Tampa, they play Pittsburgh more than the Avs do. You look at the New Jersey guys in Tatar and Wood. They've played Pittsburgh a lot over their careers. Even someone like Druin, who spent his whole career in the East. Does that familiarity with that team change the dynamic at all, or is this just not really a factor?
I'm worried about Graves, Nieto, and Eller's familiarity with Colorado.
The reverse of that, definitely fair.
But you're right. I mean, honestly, you hear that during the game, like or on the bench or in the locker room after the first. Matt Nieto, he might be like, because if Crosby's frustrated with the PP, and he'll be like, no, guys, trust me, this is what they do. This is what Cogliano does. This is what O'Connor. Yeah, you're right. There is familiarity and there is knowledge and of course the pre-scouts and everything and the videos that you see beforehand, you kind of know. But when you know someone a little more inside out, or sometimes it could be going after someone's character, and he's going to take a bad penalty, right? Because that's what he does. Just keep poking at him. It's coming. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's a lot of games like that.
Well, whether you're betting on the ex-player curse or the superstars, do it with Bet365. Of course, when you go over and download their app, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Other terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. You can see the show notes down below for details. And, of course, if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. We do have one super chat here, and then we will get out of here for the watch-along. $2 from Jake, who says, "Hi, AJ. Hope you're well. Megan spelled not even close to correctly.
No,
I like your coat."
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jake.
I like
much
it.
Appreciated.
I like when people spell my name correctly.
They misspell your name, we're in trouble.
I'd be worried. Yeah.
AG.
I want everyone to know I never take it personally
AG,
when
not
my
AJ.
name isn't spelled correct, because I kind of created a Twitter handle that confuses people. So.
True.
See, this is why you just go with Rudo or something easy. All right.
We're AJ.
Or AJ. And that also, I don't know Megan's middle initial, so.
I have 2.
Well, shall it be 3 letters? You could do anything with that.
Eminem. It is.
There you go. That's the easy one right there.
Eminem.
we are going to get out of here for the pregame. Puck drop in about 5 minutes. We will be doing a watch along, so if that's your thing, tune into that. Or otherwise, we will be live for postgame, breaking it all down, and we'll see you there. We appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon.
We all silly like the mayor.